Assalamualaikum. Thank you everyone for joining us. So basically our attendee at the moment, Prof, is our not only from our department, but also some of them are actually from other university as well, but also from the Ophtha department. Yeah, it's either the lecturers or the trainee. So without wasting time, just allow me to introduce Prof Zah to all our participants. For the UKM people, I think Prof Zah needs no introduction. But for other university, I think you also have known about, some of us also actually were student for Prof Zaleha. So just to recap everything now, Prof Zah is our super senior consultant and also our teachers. So she was also the dean for the faculty. Sorry, Prof Zah, I think they have prepared, I share screen sekejap ya. I think they have prepared some PowerPoint. Yep, there you go. So she was also the dean of the faculty from until the year of 2017. Prof Zaleha has also published more than 100 articles, several books and also chapters in a book with more than 150 abstracts and proceedings. Prof is currently active in a lot of research and the recent one is the virtual reality project with the industry. Prof also has published local and international article, and currently, Prof also is a black belt holder in Taekwondo to keep up with your 4 kids during your spare time. That's very interesting, Prof. Okay, can we just start the session? The topic that Prof Zaleha is going to give to us is on the importance of impactful research on the future of academician or clinician and how to achieve it. I pass over to you, Prof.
Okay, if I may share my screen.
Okay, allow me I stop sharing for a while. There you go.
Okay. Okay, right. First and foremost, I think I would like to thank the Ophtha department for giving me this opportunity to give this lecture on research. And I've always got this passion to try to inspire our young academicians to immerse themselves in the field of research. There's a lot of pros and cons in that. A lot of people say all sorts of things when you join an academic institution, but I would say that most, if not all of us, have got some tendency or inclination towards conducting research, that curiosity to know more than what is just what is beyond what you read in the printed literature. And that is what brings you to the academic side. Otherwise, you would have, continued in just purely clinical field, for example, whether it's private or public. But the fact that you want to join a university, that should mean that you want to satisfy your curiosity in expanding your knowledge beyond what is already known. Okay, and I would like also to thank the Department of Ophthalmology, particularly Wan Hasdina, for kindly preparing the slides for me, since it's I've had very little time to prepare for it, but it's the basis of what I'm going to talk today. I'm going to enlarge on what is written in the slides. Okay, and thanks Musha for the kind introduction. Right, what is impactful research? Doing research is one thing, but doing impactful research needs a particular strategy. This is what has been said by somebody. Most researchers assume that research is a quest for the truth. Now, we all know that the truth is sometimes quite relative. Okay, what is the truth today may not be the truth tomorrow. What was the truth yesterday may not be the truth today. Even in our treatment of patients, what was the drug of choice yesterday may not be the same today. So the discovery of truth would automatically be impactful. But however, research is impactful not simply because it is true, because as I said, true is very relative to time, to place, and all sorts of other things. But if it refutes the assumption of belief of its audience, that means your audience initially believed in something, but because you bring something else in your research, a new discovery, it refutes that truth and it changes the mindset and the practice of your audience. So truthfulness of a proposition is of limited duration, as I've mentioned. New research emerges and knowledge accumulates and expands. Okay, what matters is merely whether the research runs counter to what is currently assumed to be true, meaning that the outcome of your research now tells people that, you know, there is something else beyond what has always been believed to be true. Okay, knowledge expands, it's interesting. That is what is impactful. The way that you can change the mindset and the practice of people. Okay, and the journey is actually not simple and straightforward. It is not like you publish today, tomorrow everybody change their practice and change their mindset. It's definitely not that easy. Okay, one research that I did in one research which I published in 1998, which was my MD thesis. The paper from that, the research work that I did, the impact was actually quoted as a impactful citation in 2011. It was 13 years after. So you've just got to be patient. You know, knowledge doesn't bring about change just like that in the blink of an eye. Okay, you've got to be patient, and in time, people will see the value of your research. You yourself may not be able to see it now, okay, but many years from now, somebody is going to pick it up and say, hey, you know, there is some value or real, you know, jewel in this particular research. Now, the impact of a publication. I know that, you know, when our recent Vice Chancellor, Prof. Mahdy, talked about, you know, publishing in only WOS journals and all that, you know, journals with impact factors, suddenly everybody felt that, you know, it's, to some people at that moment, you know, it was like so discouraging. Why should we be just going for journals with impact factor? It's not easy to get in there, you know, why not, you know, stick to Scopus as well, although there's no impact factor maybe. But what you need to remember is that it is only when you publish in journals which are of good impact factor, the impact factor actually tells you that that journal is often quoted. Okay, so if you manage to publish in that kind of journal, your article will very likely be cited more than if you were to publish in journals which do not have impact factors, okay, or of low impact factor. Therefore, your publication and your work, your research work, will have a better impact in the sense that the readership is wider and a lot more people will find your research work useful. So the impact of a publication is measured by the citation of your published studies. If your studies are not cited, then it means that it's almost like nobody's reading your studies, for example. Or even if they read, they do not think that it is significant enough for them to use it to quote your study as something which is of significance. Okay, and the index of citation that we normally use is H index. Now this is important in many ways. Okay, and the H index may differ according to the platform through which it is quoted. Okay, Google Scholar may give you a different H index, compared to Scopus, compared to Pablon WOS, for example. Okay, but whatever it is, okay, impact of a publication is the future currency of a research. Okay. This is a study I did. This is the one that I mentioned to you just now. The publication from my MD work. It was published in Journal of Physiology in 1998, but it was only in 2011 that it was, although over the years there were many citations, but this was the most important citation, I would say, you know, in this thematic review by University of Wisconsin Medicine in US, which is one of the top 50 universities in US. It says that, well, I was quite surprised at that time. They said, you know, my study was like the earliest hallmark study. And I thought, oh my God, you know, but it's pleasing, and it you know, makes you feel that you have done something significant when somebody mentions that sort of thing about the work that you have done. I'm sure you agree with me, you know. And here it says, it's a groundbreaking early observation. At the time when I did this and published this, I never thought of it that way, okay? It was calcium signaling characteristics in endothelial cells from women who are pregnant, who are non-pregnant, and who are pre-eclamptic. Okay, we were comparing, and we found that, you know, those the characteristics were similar between those who were non-pregnant and the pre-eclamptic ones. The normal pregnancy behave in a different manner. So the pre-eclamptic cells behave as though they were not pregnant. Okay, and the cells were taken from hand vein endothelial cells from the mother. I believe this is the only study in the world so far that uses hand vein endothelial cells. People were using umbilical vein endothelial cells, which were quite easy to harvest. We did some study on that as well, but this one, the one that I did for my MD thesis was hand vein endothelial cells using a 14 gauge cannula, you know, to take blood from the mother's dorsum of the hand. Fortunately, pregnant women have got large veins, you know, so there was a technique we called traumatic venipuncture. Even the name itself sounds very traumatic, right? We got to get the cells from there and culture that in the lab and look at the calcium signaling characteristic using microspectropolarimetry. So it was very tedious. I used to work in the lab up until 2-3 a.m. in the morning before I went home alone. I got to lock the door so that nobody bothers me, you know, because of security reasons and all that. And even trying to isolate the cells were not easy. Okay, when I first was given this study, the first thing I found that was that the methodology that was recommended to be used under that grant didn't work. Okay, so I had to redo the methodology all over again by myself. That took a full year, you know, and by then I had only another year to finish my MD, because MD is 2 years, although it is the same level as PhD, level 8. But it's only for 2 years because it's a lot of, it's considered as very clinical because we deal with patients. Okay. So that was the story of how I did this research. And I actually went to do this MD without any scholarship from UKM. It was on my own. But Alhamdulillah, there was a grant from the Royal College of ONG that footed the bill of the lab work and all that. So Alhamdulillah. So what I'm trying to say is that it is not easy to do good research, okay? When I was almost on the verge of giving up because, you know, I tried many methods in order to isolate the cells and it didn't work. What my mentor and supervisor said to me at that time, Professor William Dunlop, who was the president of the RCOG, he said, Zaleha, if this work can be done by any Tom, Dick and Harry, do you think it is worth doing it? The fact that, you know, it is difficult to do means that there has to be something good in the outcome. So, and it's only 13 years later that I found that somebody actually quoted it in a very nice way, saying that the study elegantly described calcium signaling and all that. And that made my day. So be patient as a researcher, okay? And this is how your age index can be quoted. You can see here, okay, Google Scholar will give a different age index compared to Scopus, compared to WOS, okay? So it's one of the things is because like Google Scholar, for example, you can actually manually add papers that is not sort of picked out from the internet by Scopus, by WOS, okay? But for Scopus and WOS, sometimes there are certain sort of rigid limitations. Like for example, ResearchGate, it doesn't also allow you to add papers unless there are certain things in the authorship, the way the authorship is written, that makes it able to be listed in the in the portal. Okay, so age index is a numerical indicator of the contribution, productivity, and influence of a researcher. Basically, what it says is how many numbers of your papers has got at least that number of citations. Like for example, if 20 of your papers have got at least 20 citations, then your age index is 20. So somebody with an age index of 25, for example, it means that that person has got 25 publications which has got at least 25 citations each. All right, at least. Okay, so that's what age index means. It is important in the sense that it measures the productivity and citation impact of the publications of a person. And this is useful in many ways, okay? It is an essential reference for many researchers and managers in the academic world. Somebody who wants to hire you, they look at the age index. Somebody who wants to give you a research grant, they look at age index. Even our My Grant platform, okay, if you do not have an age index, okay, it's very difficult for anyone to pick you up as a co-researcher in any grant application. Okay, it may be rejected. Okay, so you have to have some age index. That means some citation of your work before you can be listed. So it is one of the measures funding agencies for grants or the university's hiring committee calculate when you apply for a grant or a position. Okay, and it's also important for the university's ranking, for example, Myra, QS, Times, and all that. All right, so how to increase your age index? Well, for one thing, if you're a young researcher, you can join collaborations with more mature researchers, okay? The popularity of an author will influence citation because the credibility of the author usually depends on how popular or how much the author is cited, okay? And so search for collaboration opportunities with famous researchers and authors. Now, in this respect, I would say that similarly, in an institution, if you are a senior researcher, okay, try to be mentors to the young researchers out there, okay? Bring them with you so that they will have a good chance to then flourish in their research and publication, okay? For many researchers, that is how, you know, the hierarchy works in research, okay? You're somebody small in the beginning and you collaborate with a senior researcher and you get up that ladder. And when you're up there, you stretch out an olive branch to the young ones, okay, down in the ladder, and bring the person up. Okay, so that is how things should work. Okay, we should all collaborate in order to help each other. And publish in well-known established journals, those which are not only peer-reviewed, but WOS journals with impact factor. And publish in open access. This may be a bit costly, okay? Some journals charge even up to say 10,000 or near to that. I think most of the like Q1, Q2 journals would charge around that figure, about 10,000 or between 8 to 10,000 ringgit, okay, for one paper to be published. However, there are ways and means around that. Sometimes there are offers, okay, of say waiver of the open access fees for certain reasons. Like for example, some time ago, the Frontiers group of journals, they offered a total waiver of open access for those who send in or submit manuscripts related to COVID-19, okay, before 31st of July. All right. So those who managed to submit during that time period will be able to publish open access without having to pay a single cent. All right. And sometimes you get what do you call that, discount for services that you render to the journal concerned. For example, the BMC group, okay, of journals, they give 15% discount if you are a reviewer. Okay, if you review manuscripts for them, and when you submit an article, a manuscript to be published, they give you 15% discount, which can come to quite a bit if the open access fee is quite a lot. Okay. Now, of course, when it's open access, more citation can come in for your particular published article, because people can easily retrieve it full text from the internet. Okay. The other way that you can also popularize your article. Now, when I say popularize and all that, it's not for the sake of having a good name and things like that, but you must also think about the impact in terms of you are being instrumental in expanding knowledge in this world. All right. I think about it, I regard it that way. Okay. In ResearchGate, for example, sometimes you find somebody sending a message to you, asking you for the full text of a particular article that you have published. Okay. And you can share a personal copy just to that particular person. That is not wrong. Okay. Just that you cannot share it in public if it is not an open access article. Okay, so be careful. All right, when you share on ResearchGate, it is always safe to share individually on a personal basis as a private sharing. Okay. Now, having said that, I find that quite a number of our academicians do not look after their ResearchGate portal, their Google Scholar portal, and any other portal. Okay, even your university's specific portal, like for example, we have UKM Sarjana. Okay, I would like to urge all of you, particularly young researchers, okay, to look after these portals that you have, because they are very valuable. These are the portals through which you can reach out, or people can reach out to you, okay, and you can put your publication and all the hard work that you have put into your research to good use for others to not only cite, but use the knowledge that you have brought into this world, okay, to good use. Okay, whether it is good use in terms of changing clinical practice, or in terms of expanding that research. You know, you might have got to do just with a simple receptor here and there, and somebody else can use that in order to expand the magnitude of knowledge that can be triggered from there. Okay. And publish in a journal with an appropriate audience. Okay. Ask yourself who your article is written for, and what is the most important journal for this particular audience. Like, for example, if you are in pediatrics, I'm sure you understand that, you know, why you perhaps shouldn't be publishing in an orthopedics journal which has got nothing to do with pediatrics. Of course, if it is pediatric orthopedic, then it is fine. Okay, but if it is got to do with the liver problem in pediatrics, for example, you should not be publishing it in an orthopedics journal, that sort of thing. So simple, common sense. All right. And promote your work also through attending conferences and research meetings. And search for new collaboration opportunities. Sometimes, you know, when you present or your postgraduate present a poster or oral presentation in a conference, and the abstract or proceeding is published somewhere, okay, some other researcher in the world may pick it up, okay, and contact you, perhaps through email. I've had this happen before. It was a simple study on nifedipine in preterm labor for the prevention of preterm labor that we published in through as an abstract, you know, after presenting it at an RCOG World Congress. Okay, it so happened that the World Congress was held in Kuching at that time, so it was quite near. Okay. Then many months later, I received an email from Holland, from Netherlands, okay, asking me whether I would like to share that data, okay, because they wanted to put it into a sort of a kind of review, which includes many other small researchers as well. All right, so we agreed to collaborate. And after a lot of, you know, work going back and forth between Netherlands and us, okay, that paper was finally published in BJOP, British Journal of ONG, which is the top 10 journal in the world for ONG. So this was in 2016. The paper was initially published as a small study in 2012. So this is what I mean, okay? So that's one example. And I remember there was this study on vitamin E that I presented in a conference, RCOG Congress again, World Congress in Egypt, okay? And ours was the first study where we tried to look at vitamin E for prevention of preeclampsia. And after doing a lot of literature review, we found that the best is to, you know, any preventive measure should come before 16 weeks pregnancy. Okay, there was a paper by Hermida et al. At that time that we found that says that, you know, any preventive measure should be instituted before 16 weeks pregnancy in order for it to have full impact in preventing the disease. Okay, and when I presented it in at the sorry, this was ISSHP in 2004. All right, in Europe. All right, and I went up to the rostrum and told the audience that this is what we found, that any preventive work for preeclampsia should come before, should be prescribed before 16 weeks in order to be effective. And well, although our names were not quoted or anything like that, you will find that now, if you look at any strategy for prevention of preeclampsia, in all the guidelines in the world, it says you must start the prophylactic measure before 16 weeks gestation. So I'm happy to see that that has an impact. Okay, the people were there in the audience at that time included people like Jim Roberts, who is like the doyen of preeclampsia research in the world at that time. Okay, so these small little things are the ones that, you know, will make your study have an impact later on. Okay, it takes years, but it will happen. Okay, and searching for new collaboration opportunities, right? The other example that I would like to quote is one email that came out of the blue from a startup group based in the San Francisco Bay Area, where Facebook originated, okay, where the HQ of Facebook is, okay, and it was trying to, you know, call for collaboration to test a new mobile app that they were trying out, okay, which they sort of thought out at a hackathon, a health hackathon. And I responded to that, and as a result of that, we were part of the testing out of a mobile app, which now is commercialized as List Runner app. Okay, so those are the things that keep an open mind, always try to search for new opportunities. But of course, beware, you know, in this era of scam and all that. So, but so far, I haven't seen any research collaboration that has turned out to be a scam lah. Okay, and when you write your papers, think about your readers and the search engines and choose a good title and keywords, okay? That's also important because when people search, they will use the keywords, and that's how your papers get, you know, fished out from the internet. Run a blog, be present on social media now. I'm not very active in social media, but I do agree, okay, that you can help gain citations and new collaboration opportunities. For example, nowadays, Twitter is very important. Okay, a lot of researchers use Twitter as a platform to popularize their papers. When they produce a paper, they publish a paper, they put it on Twitter. So those in the Twitter community will be able to pick it up. Okay, but attending conferences and meetings is still important. Nowadays, you can do it virtually. Okay, it's still possible. So research is not a one-person work, it's a collective effort. You must always remember that teamwork is so important. Okay, there are things that you have to give and take in a team. All right, I always believe in that. And nothing is ideal. Okay, there may be a lots of temperaments within a team. You've got to put up with that, tolerate, and finally accept that your co-researchers are of you know, a whole bunch of different, various, diverse backgrounds and personalities. Okay, but it is only through teamwork that you will be able to achieve great heights. Okay, and some of you may have seen this 1% terbaik daripada lebih 26,000 universiti di seluruh dunia, that sort of thing. Well, UKM is there, and we hope to be able to expand further, and nothing works better than collaborative work. Okay, we should not be looking into UKM alone, okay, but should be expanding outside that. Collaboration may be with other universities and may also be with industry. Okay, at the moment I'm working with industries like Aerodyne for my drone work, Integrasi Erat for my VR work together with Dr. Musha, and Dr. Musha is part of the team, and with Mesin Niaga for mobile apps that we are doing for antenatal care. So these are the things that, these are the ways and means that you can expand your research work, okay? Often you will need support from there because the private sector works in a different way. That culture may be beneficial to your research work in certain ways, okay? You cannot completely be dependent on just the public sector. So with that, I thank you. All the best in your research journey. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to take the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Zah. That was very, very, I would say, enlightening and, especially in the journey, the long journey for your article to be sort of recognized worldwide. We hope to be one of those authors one day. Tak tahulah sampai pencin pun tak ada.
InsyaAllah.
Hopefully, one of our work will be recognized and has an impact to the world, hopefully. Now, any questions so far from the audience? Anybody has any question can actually unmute your microphone. Meanwhile, let me just go through the chat in case there's any questions so far. Right. Professor, probably one question from me. What would be your tip in getting people to, let's say you have an idea and you want good people and all these good collaborators to be part of your project, what would be your tips on how to get everybody on board and also to encourage and, get everybody excited with your ideas so that everybody will be able to contribute equally? Because I find sometimes when we do collaboration, some people will collaborate so well, some people do not collaborate so well. So now how do you handle those situations?
Okay, good question, Musha. It takes a lot of, well, at first it's like a marriage, right? Yeah. Initially, it's a lot of tolerance. Of course, when you get to know each other, you get excited. Oh, you want to do this and that. And then after that, you find your co-researchers have got quirks here and there, There may be difficult aspects of the personality and all that for you to cope with. But if you you persevere, okay, you're patient, you're able to tolerate, okay, and accept that diversity, in people's, look at the good side of that person rather than the weaknesses. That's how I would always see it, in whoever you interact with, okay, it is important for you to see the good sides and the sort of, well, I hope the word is not, it doesn't sound like manipulative or whatever, but the usefulness of that person, including yourself, in that research project,
Right.
So if you
really get to know them personally first before you get to invite them, or it can just be anyone by recommendation.
Not necessarily somebody right from your childhood or whatever. Although sometimes childhood or school connections are also important. Like for example, the collaboration that I have with MMU, Multimedia University. We are working, Alhamdulillah, we've just got a PRGS 2.0 grant to work on animation now. And the person, the first trigger to that collaboration was my primary school mate from 40 years ago. Okay. We happened to meet by chance, when a group of them came to HUKM and searched for me high and low. Oh. And they finally found me in the dean's office at that time, So that was a good reunion after 40 years of not seeing each other. And through them, I got to know that one of my friends is a deputy dean in MMU. And we had a sort of like mini reunion kind of thing. We talked about collaborating and all that. And she introduced her a colleague there to me, who is very enthusiastic about research and all that. So that was how it happened, And one very important thing I must say is the trust. Okay, building the trust and having the trust in others. Okay, that is very important, particularly when you work with the commercial sector.
Right.
We academicians, we sometimes, we often go into the mode of thinking people in the private sector think of nothing but profit, right?
Right.
And exactly. And that is very negative and often impedes good collaboration. So I think we have to have sangka baik with it all,
okay.
Get rid of all the prejudice and all that, and remember that these people also want to create a good impact to the world. and do something good, not just talking about profit and money. Yeah.
Understand that, Prof.
Yeah.
Understand that, Prof. Just to share about this, I think the importance when Prof says about collaborate with the senior people, right? I truly believe in that, because I remember doing my own grant, my own VR project. I just managed to get like 70,000 grant. When Prof and Prof Ismail Saibun get into the picture, you managed to get 1 million grant. I was like, oh my goodness, it was like a big kind of thing. I was very, very impressed. So I think probably that's also one of the example of the thing that, get all these very senior people to help out would help us hopefully create our path, ease our path hopefully.
Good that you brought up that 1 million thing.
Yeah.
I almost forgot to mention about that. Now, that wasn't a very easy job.
Right.
We worked on that grant proposal for 9 months.
Wow, 9 months.
Yes. All of us collaborating, not only us in UKM, but also, and even in UKM, it was Fakulti Perubatan plus Pergigian plus IR 4.0, plus at that time it was IVI, right? Institute of Visual Informatics. And then with the company, Integrasi Erat, okay, over 9 months, many meetings, okay, polishing up the proposal and all that, and a few visits to MOSTI, the Mestec R&D clinic.
Okay.
Yeah, presenting to them and asking them for their opinion, whether the proposal is good enough and all that, getting feedback from them before we finally submitted that proposal.
I see.
Yeah.
So you do go and make mistake before the final submission.
Yeah, that's right. If there is any channel to improve it, particularly if the grant providers are the one who encourage you to come to them in order to improve your proposal before submitting, go ahead. Okay.
Right. Okay, Prof. There's one question from Dr. Prof. Wanasina. Do you think fundamental are better cited than clinical? And as academician and clinician at the same time, does further postgraduate studies necessary in publishing impactful research? So there are two questions there, Prof. Can you see that in the chat, Prof?
Yeah.
Okay. There are two questions there from Prof. Wan. You want to answer that, Prof?
Do you think fundamental are better cited, is it?
Cited, I think.
Cited, yeah. I think not necessarily, because I think clinical papers, particularly if it is RCTs, randomized controlled trials, are well cited as well. For example, that's one thing about getting into the big picture, the multi-center trials that are not only done by drug companies. I mean, those done by drug companies, I don't think they will cite you as an author. Okay, but those which are started by academicians themselves. Like for example, we were involved with the MAGPIE trial last time. This was in early 2000, and the paper was published in 2002. Okay, this was the steering committee was actually one of the universities in UK. All right, and it was published in Lancet. And that constituted, I think, about almost 1,000 of my citations, So because it's a randomized controlled trial on magnesium sulfate use in preeclampsia. Now, talking about RCTs, okay, do keep, well, not only RCTs, but any research data that you have, keep the raw data well. There was one study which I did in early year 2000. We completed it before 2005, okay? And this was from an IRPA grant. Those days, we had IRPA grant. And now it was very difficult to get that study done because even though we said just vitamin E in pregnancy, the ethics committee said, prove to us that vitamin E is not teratogenic in pregnancy. So it took 18 months from the time that I got the IRPA grant, okay, in order for me to prove to them through an animal study with that vitamin E, even in mega doses, does not affect the fetus. All right, this rat study. So that was the amount of patients that we had. Grant dah dapat about 200,000, tapi tak dapat nak mulakan because one of the ethics committee members said you have to prove to us first that there's no doubt whatsoever that this is not teratogenic, you know. So we did that animal study. Alhamdulillah, we managed to publish that one pula tu. Okay. Lepas tu barulah dapat mula this study in 2001. You know. Baru start.
So
we
dia
had to
kena
wait
sabar,
18 months.
perseverance.
Yeah, baru dapat ethics approval.
Okay.
And so we finished it in 2005. After many years, masa tu I duk sibuk dengan macam-macam other activities. So we published it in 2013. Okay. But at that time, the outcome was that it's not it's not significant. There's no significant protective effect of vitamin E.
Right.
Now, in 2014 and 2018, there were changes to the definition of preeclampsia. So I thought, just last year, I thought, why not we look back at the data? You know, since the definition of preeclampsia has changed, maybe the categorization of the outcome would change. You know, some people whom we think were not PE now becomes PE. So we look back at the data from such a long time ago, 15 tahun lepas, okay, and recategorize the patients according to the new definition. And then we found that there were some confounding factors, so we did multivariate analysis, and lo and behold, we found that vitamin E is protective against preeclampsia.
Wow, okay.
So sent that for publication now, so tengah under review sekarang ni.
So with the same set of data, but you redefine your name.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
So you can get more than one publication from the same set of data. And we reported it as a secondary analysis.
Right. After 15 years.
After 15 years.
Okay, the second question, Prof.
Academician and clinician surgeon at the same time. Does further postgraduate studies necessary in publishing impactful research? Right. Okay, that reminds me of one more important thing. Now, to those of you who have not done your PhD, okay, even though you are clinicians, please consider that. Okay, because I think it really makes a difference for you to do a doctorate, whether it's an MD or a PhD. Okay, it doesn't matter. MD is doctorate in medicine. Okay, PhD, you know lah, Doctor of Philosophy in whichever area. Okay, whichever one you do, it is still very impactful because it gets you into that research culture. Okay, the mindset of a researcher. Okay, because otherwise, what I see is if you just continue as a clinician, you don't do your PhD or MD, I'm not saying that everybody's the same. There are those who do not do MD, PhD, but still flourish in their research work. But you will find less of those people compared to those who have done MD and PhD. They really go into full gear research work and go on to get grants for themselves. The dean has actually quoted my department of ONG as the one with the most number of clinicians with PhD. I think it's quite true. I think more than half of us have got PhDs or MD.
Very impressive, Prof.
Yeah, so
we have 3 in our department. Prof. Wan, Prof. Shab, and also Prof. Jemima. Can you say one? Yeah, 3.
That makes a difference to the publications and grants that we have been getting lately.
Right. Okay, good advice, Prof. Hopefully we can encourage the juniors to do it. Dr. Musha rasa a bit rotten dah now actually.
Well, you're still a good researcher, Musha. So as I said, there's differences in people. There may be those who do not do PhD but still flourish in research because you do have that researcher mindset. But by and large, many people get into the researcher mindset only by doing PhD.
By doing the PhD, correct, Prof. Okay. Any other question from the audience? Well, we still have Prof. Zah online. The number of attendees is about 25, Prof. Zah. Okay. Probably, kalau dah tak ada soalan, probably last advice, Prof. Anything that you want to, at the end, that you want us to remember?
Okay. Never give up. Take whatever comes your way as a challenge. Like for example, the change from Scopus, WOS semua boleh to suddenly a WAS saja yang you are encouraged to publish in, that kind of thing, and many other challenges along the way, okay, to you as a researcher, as challenges in your stride, okay, and never give up. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, okay, get yourself into teams. Don't just work alone, okay? Now I think we've got lots of teams in the medical faculty. If you don't know where to go to, look around, see when you may start with your own department first, or you may even look across to other departments. There may be people with like-minded people like yourself with similar interests that you can work with. Okay, so find somebody who can jive with you. Okay, and all the best in your research endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. Zah. Thank you for your excellent talk, your advice, and also your time, Prof. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum. Okay. So we will move next to Prof. Dr. Liza Sharmini, Ahmad Tajudin from USM. Is Prof. Liza there? Assalamualaikum, Prof. Prof. Liza's talk is going to be on the My Research Journey for Impactful Research and how do I attain it. So let's wait until. Hi, Prof. Liza.
Can
Good
you hear
to see
me?
you. Cantik background.
Oh, last minute background because I'm not the one that been using Zoom all the time.
Okay.
So suddenly I
That's
just
a good
pour out
assistant.
Yeah.
Okay, Prof. Liza. We have
Alright.
just finished dengan talk by Prof. Zah just now about the importance of impactful research in our journey as an academician. So kita start terus Prof. Zah ya.
Alright, okay, sure.
Our audience at the moment is mainly from our own department, and also we also invited some other lecturers and also researchers from other university and also trainees ya. So allow me just to introduce briefly Prof. Liza. Allow me just to share screen. Actually tak perlu introduction sebenarnya, tapi kena buat juga. Okay. I have this nice, well, this Prof. Liza has like more than 10 pages of length of resume, so I was trying to simplify it. So Prof. Liza is currently the senior consultant and also the professor in USM Kota Baru, as everyone knows. Prof has also published more than 100 articles, more than 10 chapters in a book that also include the teaching materials. Of course, Prof. Liza is well known for being our prominent speaker among our ophthalmology fraternity, locally and internationally. And recently, I would like to highlight that Prof has been awarded as one of Tokoh Wanita Kelantan. I think that's very important because not many ophthalmologists. I think the first ophthalmology as Tokoh Wanita Kelantan for 2020. And not to forget, Prof. Liza is also the teacher for many of us. And Prof. Liza, I think one of my examiner when I sit for my exam during my postgraduate exam. Now, Prof. Liza is also one of the, is our representative, and she is one of the committee for the, in the board for the Asia Pacific APAO, Association of Ophthalmology. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Liza for your topic on my research journey for impactful research and how do I attain it. Now, I stop the sharing, Prof. Liza, and passing back to you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. Musha, I didn't know that I'm your examiner.
Must
be. Because
have to be.
So you can sort of like gauge my age lah. If I must be really old.
No, very experienced, Prof. That's what I'm trying to highlight.
Okay, let me share my experience as compared to Prof. Zah just now. I don't think my experience as good as her, but never mind. It will be sort of like an ophthalmologist journey. Let me share my slide. Okay, can you see my slide now?
Prof. Liza, your voice is a bit soft now. I'm not sure, is it only me or is it Attain?
Is it okay now? Is it better?
One more time, Prof.
Is it okay?
Slightly better.
Better.
What about the other audience? Are you guys okay with the sound? All the attendees, I hope it's going to be fine. So no comment. I think should be okay, Prof. Should we just proceed?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. It's okay, Prof. Liza. Boleh. Can.
Yeah, boleh ya. Uh, okay, can you see my slide right now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, initially I was wondering why you are inviting me. I don't think my research is as impactful as Prof. Zah, but nevertheless, let us share my experience throughout. So, as you know, once you are in the academy or once you graduated as specialist, you ask yourself, who are you now? Are you just a clinical specialist, an ophthalmologist seeing patient day and night? That's it. Are you also a teacher, or to the academician is a lecturer? Are you a scientist, a researcher, or are you just an administrator? Or are you all the above? We know the answer is regardless you are in the academic world or you are in the hospital, KKM hospital, or in a private hospital, you still have to do A, B, C, and D, right? And why are we here, either as a specialist or as academician? All of us are knowledge creator. So you have to create knowledge. If not, you are not giving anything else to the world, because if you are seeing only patient without creating any knowledge, you are doing your day-to-day work without any extra input from you. Because while doing research, you are putting yourself into immortal. People will remember you forever. So what you need to do is, while you see patient, day-to-day patient, you may identify or you may encounter some problem or some issue. So just don't let it be. Try to solve that issue. How to solve that issue is by doing research. Once you have done your research, don't keep it to yourself. Publish it. Make the public aware about it. If not the public, the scientific community aware about it. Okay? But the problem is, once you want to do research, make sure your research is impactful. Meaning that I always tell my students, good research means research for good. Meaning that you have to do research not suka-suka hati, it's for yourself. No, you must make sure your research contribute to something. The very least is to your patient, to the society, or to create new knowledge. It's what Prof. Zah is doing. She even go into economy, K economy, knowledge-driven economy, and many others. So you make sure that when you do the research, it's like telling a story. When you tell a story, it must be a moral of the story. So this is how good research become research for good. Okay. Right, I always tell them that doing research is like a marriage. First, you have to date, to find ideas. Ideas is very important in doing research. So you have to date a lot of people, see a lot of people as handsome, as beautiful as these two people. And once you think this is good, you need to write a proposal. Find a ring to be engaged. Okay, writing a proposal is another challenge to us. Then you cannot do your research alone. You cannot conduct your marriage alone or your wedding alone. You need the help from your family and friends. So that is where collaboration comes into. Once all is this done, then there you are, you get your grants to conduct your research. So that is your marriage. That does not stop there, because your research are supposed, or your marriage is supposed to produce anak-anak kecil lah. So anak-anak kecil ni is your publication or your product of your research. Okay? Right. So I would say my journey is quite not so bumpy, not so quite nice and pleasant. Alhamdulillah, because I think I got a lot of blessing from Allah. I have many kind collaborators, many kind friends, many unexpected opportunity where I'm so syukurlah, because that opportunity just come just like that without I'm really looking for it. So I would say I have a lot of blessing during my journey for uh, nearly how many years, since 2002. So it's almost 18 years of doing my research. Right. So what happened is after my graduation as a medical student, become a houseman. I did my houseman in Kuantan. I'm now in Kuantan in my in-laws' house, just arrived. And after my housemanship, I was sort of forced to go to Kota Baru since my husband is in HUSM. So I was posted in HRPZ 2 hospital as a medical officer for pediatric. After 2 months, they forced me to go to orthopedic. I have this dislike of orthopedic. If there is any orthopedician here, I'm sorry, I'm not really do not like orthopedic, but it is just do not really sync with my personality. So I said, rather than going for orthopedic posting, what are my options? They say, oh, if you don't want to go there, you have to become MNHO, Medical and Health Officer in Pusat Kesihatan. So they sent me to this clinic Kesihatan Selising, which is like half an hour drive from Kubang Kerian, I would say. Then when I was there, it was a total new experience because suddenly I'm the boss. I have a lot of staff under my wing and they are all older than me. Then suddenly when I was there, I told my boss there, Dr. Yassin, that I already been accepted as trainee lecturer to USM. I'll be going at any time if they started the ophthalmology posting. So he was telling me, you want to go to university. You know what you are supposed to do? I said, I don't know. It's just that my husband is there. I want to go there. That's my real reason. They said, no, you have to learn how to conduct research. So he was the first one who taught me how to conduct research in the community. So he discussed with me what I want to do, what his suggestion. So we came out with a project. But at that time, we don't have any money. So he said, never mind, I try to find money. So what he did is, he go to get the money from politicians. As you know, in Kelantan, you have PAS and Barisan Nasional, sort of. So each kampung, they will have pegawa from PAS and another representative from Barisan Nasional. Okay, we have the money from there, but these people from Barisan Nasional said, all this research must sort of promote them for political mileage. So what happened to us is we are supposed to detect new diabetic patients in the community by going from kampung to kampung. The funny thing is, because of the political reason, I have to give the similar talk, let's say in the school, in front of the school is the mosque. So today I talk in the school, then tomorrow I talk in the mosque, same talk, same community for the sake of politics. Because if I give the talk in the school, the past people wouldn't come. Then I have to repeat the same one, but luckily we managed to sort of like screen 1,000 plus patients in the community. And that was my first research. And I have my first publication based on this research. At that point of time, I didn't know that my publication is so great. But I use it as my ticket for my master's program. So this was my first paper, which was written initially was in Bahasa Malaysia. But it was quite an experience for me when I showed them for my interview to master program. Everybody said, wow, you already have done research. I was like, oh, is that so great? I did not even know that the impact of this particular research to my application to the master program. Right. After that, yes, during my master's program, I decided to sort of do a lab base just to challenge myself because I have done a lot of clinical research. Why not do something different? So I go into histopathology work. I learn to stain, to do a card, microscopic card, reading slide, counting cells. It is challenging, but it is very interesting because, of course, it's challenging because I have to run between the clinic, OT, and coming to the lab. But Alhamdulillah, I have another publication on my project for my master's program. And after I graduated from the master's program, I was thinking I want to do something different. As my characteristic or myself, my personality, I always try to do something different from others. And I Google up, there is no ocular geneticist in Malaysia. I was thinking, why not I challenge myself to be someone that is interested in ocular genetics. So of course, another factor is my other half is doing genetics. I know he will actually drag me around in all the conferences of genetics. Might as well know something about it. But during my first 2 years as a specialist, I was wondering why I haven't seen a brush field spot in a Down syndrome baby. Is it because our population is different? So there come another project whereby I have done ocular findings of Malaysian with Down syndrome. And true enough, there was no brush field spot seen in our patients, but we find a lot of things such as retinoblastoma associated with Down syndrome. To my surprise, I found one case of retinoblastoma in Down syndrome. Without me knowing, after this paper came out, there is one group of researchers from France whereby what they did is they only collect cases retinoblastoma in Down syndrome. So specific. So they contacted me, then we were chatting through the email because last time tak ada WhatsApp, yeah. So emails and we were communicating, and he wants to know more about my cases. I asked him how do I go about collaborating with them. This go on for quite some time, and I never seen this person until I think 6 or 7 years ago when I attended one of the meeting in Geneva. Without me knowing, I was sitting beside him. Then he was said, we were talking, and then what's your name? Oh, I think we communicated before. See, I can't remember. Then he said, you were the one who sent us the case of this. Oh, yeah, because we specifically communicate personally with all these people who have this kind of cases so that I can remember you. It turned out this is Professor Lohman, the very known, well-renowned professor who actually really work on genetic Down syndrome and retinoblastoma. From that, I was thinking, okay, one is ocular genetics I have done on chromosomal abnormality. Why not go to molecular genetics? So at that particular time in 2002 to 2007, I think, pharmacogenetic is the in thing, sort of like one of the hypes for individualized, personalized medicine or something like that. So I was asking myself, at the same time, I was asking myself, why is it our topical anti-glaucoma drugs, beta blockers, we need a higher concentration in our patient, in an Asian patient compared to Caucasian patient? So I was discussing with another mentor, Professor Rusli Ismail. He was like, I searched for you. I couldn't find why. There is an issue of genetic basis in that. So he encouraged me to apply for a long-term grant, IRPA grant. This is a national grant. At that point of time, I was saying, I'm just 2 years after my specialty program. I don't think I'm good enough to apply for this, I told him. So he said, never mind, just apply. Put my name there, he said. Who knows, my name can help you. So I just applied, and to my surprise, this is my first grant, which is a national grant. I successfully get 212,000 ringgit for this particular grant. Right, and I use this grant to actually, for my project, PhD project, later on. And during my PhD project, I opt for an option of sandwich program. Sandwich program meaning that I collect data from Malaysia, So I have to spend certain amount of time, go back to UK and come back to Malaysia and go back to UK. So of course there is going to be a lot of traveling, but I was thinking I'm just starting as a academician. I cannot lose 3 years of not doing anything and concentrating on my PhD. So if I do a sandwich program, I can do a lot of other things to get myself started faster and to excel further as academician. So during that project, I also graduated one MSc student on human genetics. I get another grant, FRGS grant, as a project leader. So that is how I try not to lose 3 years only for my PhD study. Okay. And the funny thing is, how do I get my supervisor for my PhD project? It's all via email. I just look at his name on the net. I email to him, and without knowing much about him, and he didn't know much about me. So I was just want to tell everybody, sometimes you have to be bold. You have to just email. You do not know what is your luck will be. But lucky enough for me, he agreed to become my supervisor. So he said, oh, we have to meet up before I started my PhD. So he said there's another glaucoma meeting in India, in Chennai, let us meet up. So I get myself myself to India. At the same time, I sort of presented my oral presentation there, and I meet up with him. So of course, he have a lot of connection with other glaucoma specialists there. And out of the blue, without even knowing, I think because he was telling everybody he's taking me as his PhD student, I think some political link, I won as the best oral presentation. I get around 500 USD. That's why I'm telling you, it's just a lot of luck during my journey as a researcher. So I get a certificate, I get a bit of money to cover everything for my expenditure to India. So then that is the advantage of having this sandwich program throughout 3 years, that I get my PhD and I get a mark for graduating a MSc student and another grant. Okay. So after that, after my PhD, I continue with a lot of molecular genetics study in glaucoma, but most of it are single gene study and in a single population. These are the one or two of publication that I have on this single gene study, right? And all are Malays. So at the same time, I know that I should concentrate on Malay population because based on the literature search, and nobody actually are doing much on Malays, in especially on glaucoma and other diseases too. And the advantage of myself being in Kelantan, whereby 93% of them are Malays, this is another good advantage that I have to take this opportunity to sort of boost up my research. So at the same time, I collect a lot of observation on clinical, on the severity, and on PACG basically in Malays and compare with other races. So the word goes around that I am the one who have been published a lot on Malays, on glaucoma and genetics. Okay, so I was thinking, why not I combine genetics, glaucoma and Malay and see what happened. At the same time, there is international collaborators that are actually looking for somebody who has sort of DNA of Malays to include in their bigger multi-population study. So they were looking for me. Then I said, yes, I have sort of like 200 plus of DNA of Malay and was screened properly with a proper phenotype and genotype. So they wrote me in. And based on that, I was especially this is my mentor, Prof. Attain, and because of that, he has sort of wrote me into a lot of many other collaborative projects. I was introduced to even other big consortium like Global Eye Genetic Consortium. I was invited to many other international conferences just through this particular research. Okay, and based on this collaboration, I have a lot of other opportunity, not just to be published in high impact journal, but I have the opportunity to get to know other collaborators and sort of like expand my research further. Okay. And apart from that, I was thinking not to stop just at genetic. Why not look into other aspects of glaucoma? And I met other internal collaborator, meaning that in USM, one are working on the vascular lab and the other on immunology lab. So I learned from them how to use this fluximeter and iontophoresis to actually determine the endothelial function of the vessels and associated that with glaucoma patient. At the same time, we are collecting tears to study on the oxidative stress. So I was thinking not to limit myself into just genetic, as what my mentor, Prof. Ontin, was advising me. They said, go on everything, full loaded of glaucoma. And based on this vasculopathy kind of thing, I got another grant whereby we study on the arterial stiffness and endothelial dysfunction. So as you know, the vessels is actually regulated by all these autoregulation, arterial stiffness, vessel diameter, ocular perfusion pressure, and endothelial dysfunction. So based on that particular thing, we found that there is no association with the anterior stiffness in terms of risk of glaucoma. But OPP or ocular perfusion pressure is associated with severity of glaucoma, and endothelial dysfunction is not only associated with the risk, it's also associated with the severity of glaucoma. That is one grant under Research University individual grant that we have completed this. There is a few more papers coming out from this particular grant. Okay, since I'm known for study on glaucoma in Malays. So I was thinking, why don't I make another series of studies? And I do not want to compete in terms of epidemiology study, which is expensive. I have to I need a lot of money and everything, but still fruitful and still impactful. So I sort of like launched a Malay glaucoma eye study where I call it MAGAZE. This is basically a cross-sectional study to look into the modifiable risk factors for POAG and PACG patients. The modifiable risk factors include physical activity, cigarette smoking, diet, oxidative stress, and quality of life. We managed to collect 450 glaucoma patients and 500 controls. I've completed this study actually, and we have actually produced quite a number of papers in quite high impact journal, for example, Journal of Glaucoma, and few other more coming out from this paper. So even now we are doing a randomized control trial whereby we know the food or fruits that high with antioxidants is sort of protective effect for severity of glaucoma. So we have done papaya whereby we send papaya to the house of the patient. And our outcome is quite good. After I completed this one, now I have just secured a grant, MAGAZE 2, whereby this study, just now we are looking into modifiable risk factors, but this one we are looking into the rehabilitation side of glaucoma. So we look into mobility, navigation, reading, exercise, and oxidative stress. And this study we divided into 3 phases. First, we do a cross-sectional study how the mobility, navigation, and the reading process of a glaucoma patient based on severity. After that, we develop a rehabilitation program, validate that program, and after that, we'll do randomized control trial. This grant is just started because I just sort of secured that in October this year. So we'll see what's going to happen, what is the finding after this, right? At the same time, remember I was telling I want to become an ocular geneticist. So on another side, although I know my interest is in glaucoma, since as the person who is interested in ocular genetics, I go into retinoblastoma. So, but again, this is on genetic part, and throughout the years, I think I started that in 2002. I stopped that once we have a pediatric ophthalmologist in USM. So we have quite a number of paper on the genetic of retinoblastoma. In fact, one of my students here, I think Dr. Nuraini Ramli, she already passed away for due to breast cancer, but you can see how the paper actually keep having the citation for her even she's not no longer around. Of course, throughout my journey as a researcher, postgraduate student is actually the main heart and soul of a research group. Okay, without them, I don't think I can produce quite a number of people. But of course, I teach them and they teach me. We learn it together. We share idea. Of course, as what Prof. Zah was saying, we should sort of motivate this young mind. There are some of the research based on their ideas. For example, this one. This is not their dissertation. They just want to know how the visual impairment and diagnosis of newly diagnosed glaucoma. So I say, okay, fine. We design a study. So I design the study, they conduct the study, and they have an extra publication while after the end of their master's program. This is another one whereby they want to see the efficacy of timolol in gel forming solution. Which one is better, morning or evening dose? This is the funny one. I asked them to look into the effect of coffee in glaucoma, but they want to see the effect of voodoo. So I said, okay, fine. We'll do the effect of voodoo and the effect of coffee. So although the finding is not so good, but at least they get their answers. And even some of them want to do on innovative such as rapid eye screening test. And there's a lot more whereby I just let them explore what they want to explore. All right. And of course, to make everything sort of running well, we have a glaucoma research group. This is one of the members. I think this is in 2018. We have regular meetings, and during that meeting, all the students, research mode and mixed mode will come together. They have their own progress report. And at that point of time, usually we spend like 1 hour or two to troubleshoot, brainstorming with their problem. And of course, hunting them for their manuscript writing. Usually most of them said they are more stressful than the progress interview every 4 months. Okay, right. As I said, as what Prof. Zah was saying, teamwork is very, very important. This is myself and Prof. Azani, both of us as a glaucoma specialist in USM. What I do is, we do not compete. We conquer together, not conquer each other, but we conquer together. So that we divide our research. She will be more on surgical part, I will be more on medical part. But we help each other. So as I said, the most important thing is be inclusive, not exclusive. As what we know, teamwork is not that easy. The larger group you have, the more problem it could be. But you have what Prof. Zah was saying, to accept all the differences, look at the good side of each person. So this is what we call the politics of science. Right. For those who starting, this is what I call Academician web. In USM, we have divided our activity into M1 to M5. M1 is research, M2 is teaching, M3 is academic recognition, M4 is consultation, and M5 is more of community work. But my suggestion is for those academicians, you should make everything M1 to M5 to work together with you during the running of your clinic. Okay, let's say you are running your glaucoma clinic. Of course, you are training your master student. So the training of master student will be M2. Okay, at the same time, you are doing M4 and M5 all together, and at the same time, your research are supposed to be running together. So research niche. Usually in my clinic, it will be a lot of patients, a lot of students, and a lot of research assistants who are taking data, helping out. Some are taking blood. So you make sure the clinic that you run benefit you from M1 to M5. Okay, all right. So you can do this with if you once you are quite okay with this, you will feel that that is a normal occurrence of your clinic. You don't feel that you were forced to run the clinic and the clinic is so busy with a lot of things running all together. Right. Okay, for those young ophthalmologists, for example, these are my suggestion or my recommendation for area to explore. If you want to do a subspecialty on these 3 subspecialty, in terms of research, there are a lot to do on research. You don't have to compete much. Even a simple study will give you a lot of advantage. But if you decided to do retinal glaucoma of cataract, you need to come with a lot of new ideas because there's a lot being done in this kind of subspecialty. Cornea, external eye disease is not too bad. Trauma, also there's an ample opportunity in terms of research. Okay. This is my proposal to young lecturers. You must concentrate on your clinical work, of course, have your subspecialty, at the same time start your research need, and you have your special interest. Special interest is something that you can merge with your research. Like maybe you like photography, you can, do it together, or you like computers so that you can do your AI and things like that. Okay, this is for those who are a bit experienced, a bit senior. You have to go for the global impact rather than just national impact or institutional impact. Okay, as a conclusion, as a researcher, you have to be adventurous. Always has this the feeling of to explore and learn. Be bold but humble. Don't be bold but bossy. Be kind. Once you are kind, others will be kinder. Be inclusive, not exclusive. And of course, teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. Believe me, it's really work. Okay, with that, I thank you.
Wow, thank you, Prof. Liza. That was very interesting. Now, before I ask my question, but anybody have any question? Any participants? Probably I start with my question, Prof. Liza. The Mahdy study, was that a multi-center kind of study, or it's just located, all your patients are from Kelantan?
Okay, for the Malay glaucoma eye study, because I have students in Alustar and also in Terengganu, because I, as you know, Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, and Perlis are all the places that you have more than 90% Malays. So that is why I can recruit up to 450 of Malay glaucoma patient and 500 control.
So that you get all your students at different locations doing so-called one similar study?
Yes, not similar. I divided that some are doing on the wrist, meaning between glaucoma and control. Some are doing the severity, but they can help each other.
To get the information.
Yes.
So you create a few proposals based on the
yes,
different population, but under one big umbrella.
Yes, true. Yeah.
Right. What about your collaborators? Because I can see when it comes to publishing the article, you have a lot of names there internationally, locally. Do you get them everybody on board from the beginning of the study, or you slowly recruit them whenever it's needed?
In terms of big study, like for example, Malay glaucoma study, they were already on board from the beginning.
I see.
Uh,
So they're helping out from the proposal stage and
yes,
everything.
proposal I would say more of our side,
Mhm.
but then after we are collecting samples and everything, they do voluntarily without forcing to
Right, right.
help it out. If I'm not sure anybody here from HKL, if you see or for my McGee study, usually there is one author for each institution. But for HKL, due to the political reason, I put both of the glaucoma specialists there. So there is a political game.
Okay. But everybody does contribute to the studies, sort of.
Yes.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, Prof, because I know genetic is always quite expensive. What is the minimum figure of grant that you get for your genetic study?
Uh,
I mean,
I
how much is the
think
minimum for you
how
to run a
much
genetic study?
the minimum if you want to do is 50K. That is minimum with a
50.
small single gene. We are not talking about microarray. So
Right.
most of my microarray is I collaborated. I have my own, and I collaborated also with Singapore. So
Right.
if let's say I have 100K, I use up to that 100K. The rest will be covered by the Singapore colleague. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, Prof. One more is on the student side, because we know that sometimes when you suggest a proposal to the students, sometimes they're not interested. And you can see that
Yes,
the
true.
reaction throughout that 4 years when they carry out that project,
Yeah.
And how can you share your experience? How do you deal with that? How do you get the students to be as excited as you are doing that project?
Yeah, one thing I think I was lucky to get enthusiastic students, whereby they come with their ideas and everything. But some of them I have to fast. I was telling them, you start with me because you cannot change supervisor.
I see.
Once
Okay,
you
makes
are
sense.
with me, it's going to be glaucoma, whatever the aspect of glaucoma.
Okay.
But then if they want to do a small project outside that they think of their interest, I do encourage them.
So they still do go for glaucoma whenever they are under Prof. Liza.
Yeah. But let's say
And
instead of them doing a case report, they can do small study. So I help
right.
them to design the study. And
Mm-hmm.
they do, like one of my students, I didn't put as an example, he's interested in VR. So he was doing a glaucoma studies, but at the same time, he want to collect data on IOFB in his hospital. So I designed the study and we get it published on IOFB, what are the common cause and what are the organism or all those kind of things.
But
So
concurrently, she's also doing your study.
yes.
Right,
But
sure.
usually this kind of student that are allowed to do a small project are the one with a good academic standing.
You're right. So they can
So
cope with
yes.
projects. Yeah.
But if I know they are a bit weak, I wouldn't suggest it. Okay, you just go for your case report.
Right.
So for those who are young academician also, case report is fine. But case report is like side dishes. Original article is your main dish because this original article will give you more H index as compared to your case report. So, yeah, you cannot wait for your case report to gain like 100 citation over 2 years or 3 years. But original article can do that for you.
Right. Now, from going back to your PhD, because you had a sandwich kind of PhD, right? So here and there.
Yes.
I think it's very, very beneficial as a clinician. Not many of us, I suppose, will get the opportunity to do so. What do you think of having the idea of having a PhD running concurrently with your masters? Because I've seen some students did that in Australia in particular. Some good students actually managed to come out with a PhD concurrent with a masters. I think that would be an interesting idea then that people can easily work on rather than having a split kind of program.
Yeah.
Is it doable or is it something
Yes.
difficult?
While I was doing my PhD in Institute of Ophthalmology, there is one student a good student, a daughter of one of the world-renowned oculoplastic surgeon. She was doing sort of like undergraduate MBBS plus PhD.
MBBS, that is undergraduate.
Yes. And I feel I'm so old because she is like 21. I was with
Okay.
3 kids already. So
Right.
she sort of like in the 3rd year, she took the time off to concentrate on her PhD. After she completed that, she will continue with 4th and 5th year. So by the time she graduated, she got a double degree already, and she prepared herself for specialty training.
Mm,
Oh.
mm.
And in USM, actually, we have sort of like I have proposed this and was accepted by our postgraduate committee, subspecialty together with a PhD. It is a
Subspecialty together with
yeah,
PhD.
it's going
Okay.
to be a 4 years kind of course. So you can either start with your subspecialty first, continue with PhD and sandwich it together with your PhD, or you can start your PhD first, sandwich it together with your subspecialty. So you do not have to, sort of like rugi lah kan. So you
Correct,
get
correct. For
all
the good students,
together.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
What about incorporating in our postgraduate students?
I think for postgraduate student, we have to think about it because it's going to be 4 years. I guess now we have a research component in ours, but it's not so in depth. Maybe we have to add on another 2 years to make it sort of in depth. And I'm just a bit worried in terms of KKM people, are they all right with that? But I'm
Right.
sure,
I suppose probably can open the idea for the
yes,
university,
yes,
right?
yes.
Because
Yeah,
as you said,
yeah.
it's some kind of doable, but probably it's not something norm
Yes,
on our
yes,
side.
yes,
Yep.
yes, yes. But
Okay.
and
No, there's no more question yet, Prof. Because I think you've covered a lot of things. I was like listening, Okay. Anything, Prof, before we probably close the session while waiting for any. So far, there's no
okay.
question.
Uh-huh.
Anything, Prof, that you would like to say your last word to us?
I think
Advice.
maybe my journey is not too bad because I was so lucky. I have a lot of good mentor. One of my forever mentor is my own uncle who used to be a deputy vice chancellor in USM.
Wow.
Before I start off, before I go for the interview to become academician, he was keep telling me, do you know what are you going for? I said, I don't. Do you know, even if you are clinician, you still have to do research. You cannot do without it. To you,
Sort of primed yourself.
yes. And he was telling me at least read 2 journal a day. I was like, what is this? And then through enough, once I graduated as specialist and everything, yes, you are
I
forced even to
understand
read
that.
more than 2 journal a day, right?
Right.
So then because perhaps because he was sort of like being primed earlier, so that my journey was more focused and I know what I'm supposed to achieve at what point of time. So for the young one also, you can do it and you can do better than me, whereby you have to know your niche area, what you want to do in your research. For example, uh, if you know me, if like Prof. Wan, if he tells you about me, he will say that the first 2 years of my after my postgraduate training, I want to do everything. I want to be oculoplastic surgeon, pediatric surgeon. Until Prof. Wan asked me to sit down. Liza, you cannot do everything. Now choose. So I said, oh yeah, I have to choose. So, but during the period that I want to do everything, I experienced a lot. I try a lot. But at that point of time, not so many people in my department, only 3 or 4 of us. So of course, I was forced to do everything. So from there, I know that my niche area is perhaps something to do with research plus clinical. At that point of time, I think glaucoma is the best. That's why I choose glaucoma. But for you guys as a young one, don't go beyond me. Like for example, AI. Whatever it is, your subspecialty, now people are going to deep learning, AI, and beyond that. So start now, focus on that, because it's not just for your career, but you can benefit mankind in a lot of ways. COVID is a blessing in a way. If there is no COVID, people wouldn't even blink an eye for AI or even online meeting like this. But now you have to think something towards that line and make yourself prominent. We cannot forever stand on the shoulder of Singapore. We have to stand on our own. We have more people than they are, but we still cannot excel better than them. But if we do it together, don't be territorial, be inclusive, not exclusive, I think we can move further. But to get those people to work together, teamwork, that is the major challenge. For example, until now in Malaysia also, Mushawiahti, someone is doing this, someone is doing that, and you end up
That's my work, that's your work.
yes, yes, yes. Same goes with glaucoma also, okay, this is mine, you cannot kacau
My
me, or
baby, yeah.
yes. So if we do it together, we get a bigger sample size. We can make it more meaningful of our research, rather than, okay, you collect 20, I collect 30, and both of us are trying to publish this. Why not merge this and you get 50?
Right.
Something like that.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Very, very good advice, Dr. Liza.
Yeah. All right.
Very
That is
interesting.
mine.
Thank you so much. So for the young ones, keep exploring until you get your niche.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
All
All
right.
right. We have come to the end. Prof. Liza, thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. Thank you so
Okay.
much
Thank you for
your
inviting me.
yes, your sharing session.
Yeah.
It's actually being recorded now. Hopefully we
Okay.
can share it somewhere, yeah, if you don't mind, Prof. Liza, because I
Yeah.
think
Sure.
it's
Sure.
very beneficial for especially the young lecturers. Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Liza, and to the attendees, thank you everyone. Thank you for being with us, and hope to be able to invite you again, Prof. Liza, in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.